The Vietnam War, which took place from 1923 to 1975, consisted of many deaths and injuries. It started before World War II. French colonists were ruling Vietnam as one of their colonies. They treated Vietnamese people harshly and thought they were insignificant to them. When World War II took place, Japan took over Indochina and pushed the French out. When the war ended, French wanted to colonize Vietnam again. This time, the people rebelled. In 1930, the Indochinese Communist Party was formed, bringing Ho Chi Minh to power. Ho Chi Minh convinced the communist side of Vietnam to fight back in any way possible. These people formed small groups called guerrilla units. These guerrilla units were highly efficient as they were able to ambush the French at any point given. Although the people fought relentlessly, they knew they could not last much longer, so they called the U.S. for help. The U.S. wouldn't side with the Vietnamese, even though they fought for their own independence. The problem with that was that they were converting to communism, which at the time, the U.S. was trying to contain. This led to Vietnam seeking alliance with Russia and China. When Russia and China accepted the proposition, they started funding the Vietnamese. In 1950, when China began providing the Viet Minh with military advisors and weapons, the response from the United States pledged $15 million in military aid to France. North Vietnam felt betrayed after this and started to disrespect America because they thought that they would have supported them for their fight of freedom. The conflict between Vietnam and France continued for 4 years until a turning point for the Viet Minh happened in 1954. The Viet Minh defeated the French army in the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, forcing the surrender of most of the occupying troops. This sent the U.S. over the edge, as they felt the need to become involved because they were worried that North Vietnam would expand southward and there wouldn't be anyone to stop them. So one of the first things they did was start training South Vietnamese forces. But they made a mistake by training the South Vietnamese, because they were training them for a standard military war. The guerrilla tactics used by the Viet Minh completely countered the standard fighting tactics. Later, in 1968, the North Army grew and developed a plan called the Tet Offensive. The Tet Offensive was encompassed by a combined assault of Viet Minh and North Vietnamese armies. Attacks were carried out in more than 100 cities and outposts across South Vietnam, including Hue and Saigon. The U.S. Embassy was invaded as well. This event was a turning point in the war, which gradually caused the U.S. withdrawal. They even had to hold a draft lottery for the first time since World War II. After a few years of battling, President Nixon decided to take it a step further. He ordered the launch of the most intense air offense of the war called Operation Linebacker. This attack consisted of dropping roughly 20,000 tons of bombs over densely populated regions. The main attacks were concentrated between Hanoi and Haiphong. Many Americans thought they had defeated the Viet Minh, but in reality, they were not even close to scaring the North Vietnamese. When growing controversies grew in the United States, President Nixon started Vietnamization. Vietnamization was a withdrawal of U.S. soldiers from Vietnam and handing the responsibility of the war completely over to the South Vietnamese.